It's the only morning show that doesn't talk all day about the Jets and the Giants. Jill Savage with me today. We're going to get right into this.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to hit you with a couple of things. Number one, your thoughts on Brian Kelly going to LSU.
Well, I think the Brian Kelly news, I think you actually have to step back and look at this coaching carousel as a whole, right? We were told that we weren't going to have any splash hires in this coaching carousel. Instead, we had a freaking earthquake, Dan, when Lincoln Riley went from Oklahoma to USC. I think that was a game changer on every level. I think that it raised the expectations. And so when you look at that job that Notre Dame to LSU for Brian Kelly, what do we know about LSU? Their athletic director, Scott Woodward. We know that he is the athletic director that likes to make the biggest hires out of any of them, out of any athletic director across the country. So when Lincoln Riley moved over to USC and was taken off the board, he knew he had to strike quick. He had to get his coach that he wanted before he was gone. So Brian Kelly then going down to LSU, I see it. You know, he'd been at Notre Dame for 11 seasons. He was very successful. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier to get kids into LSU than it would be to get them into Notre Dame. The last three coaches who have been okay have all won national championships down there. And when you look at Notre Dame over the last couple of seasons, yes, they're in the college football playoff discussion, but if you're at LSU, you're winning the national championship. And when I see Notre Dame this season, we cared about them for that Cincinnati game, but were you or any of us really talking about Notre Dame week in and week out this season? No, I wasn't. I wasn't having them at the top of my mind every weekend going, oh, who do they have? What matchup do they have this weekend? So I can see the appeal of going to the SEC, and the rich are getting richer. Can you imagine what the SEC conference is going to look like in a couple of years when they all get these programs rolling, when they all have these great coaches in? And it's going to be even better than it is right now.
Who replaces Brian Kelly at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I liked your list where you threw out Urban Meyer. I could see that one because Urban Meyer, you know, he's never found a job that he doesn't like, Dan. Like, if you're going to be paying him and he's going to go, like, this could be.
No, I'm gonna argue with you there. Here's what Urban does. I know Urban very well. He's very smart. Like when he went to Bowling Green and he was at Notre Dame, he got rid of the AD, sat down with me and said, hey, Mike Bray told me to talk to you. What's the talent like on this team? And they had great talent at Bowling Green. Then when he went to Utah, he could have had any job, but he knew that the previous coach at Utah had recruited really well, just didn't have any discipline. Then he told me, always follow Ron Zook. Because, no, he doesn't take any job. He takes jobs that he knows are
to your
stacked.
Point, Notre Dame has a great recruiting class the next 2 years loaded. So
that's right. That makes it sexy to him.
Cliff Kingsbury, I'll argue with you because I don't see Cliff Kingsbury leaving. He was not a very good, successful college football coach. He has quite the
let me ask you this.
Out in Arizona.
Would you go after Cliff Kingsbury if you were Notre Dame based on his college record?
No, not right now. I think that when you looked at Cliff Kingsbury, he was not successful at recruiting, and he could never get the defense right. Now, those are two things that he doesn't really have to worry about in the NFL. He just turned that all the way over for his defensive coordinator. And recruiting, what's that? You don't have to do that in the NFL, and he has one of the best teams right now. I don't see him leaving. I see him trying to get a raise. His agent is putting his name out there. And that's why yesterday when he said, oh, your name has come up in association with this Oklahoma football opening. And he's like, yeah, I can't comment on that. The reason he can't comment on that is because he doesn't have a raise yet. He's not going to say, no, I'm not interested in Oklahoma because he needs the money. That's what he's waiting for. That's the play. But, you know, you were
Hey, can I ask you this? Did you, to your point, and I think your point is 1,000% accurate, did you see the backlash Adam Schefter got for tweeting out that?
I think it was all because we know, like,
agents.
We know the game now. We've seen this enough times.
Right.
The guys on 360 always say, like, if you're not getting a raise this year, then what are you doing? Like, this is going to be the easiest year of ever to get a raise if you're an NFL coach rumored for a college job, or a college coach that's just trying to stay where you're at.
I'm with you. Oh, I'm so with you on that. Like, I saw that by Schefter, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. But let me go the other way with you. All right? If Kingsbury did, let's just say for the sake of argument, because I did preface it by saying he gets to the AFC Championship game, Notre Dame fans, because Kingsbury is young, dynamic, good-looking guy, NFL experience, they would be kind of happy with that, I feel like. No? Or does the college thing just loom too big over him? See what happens?
Yeah, I think that you have a point there that now if you look at Cliff Kingsbury and the success that he's had in the NFL and going to a program that is as big as Notre Dame, he would have a completely different staff that he would put together. It wouldn't be the coaches that he had at Texas Tech. The resources that he would have at Notre Dame they're not even comparable to what you could say from the Big 12. So with that in mind, yes, I do believe he would have more success if he chose to come back to college at this time, if it was a program like Notre Dame. But I just don't think that that's going to happen at all. I think that is the craziest possibility of all of them right now. But other coaches, and you were talking about Urban Meyer, and he's named after a pope. Another coach that's out there is Matt Campbell from Iowa State. And I would say every other job that I've heard that Matt Campbell was in the running for, USC, LSU, any of those jobs, they were not a cultural fit for Matt Campbell. So Urban Meyer, Catholic, Matt Campbell, super Catholic. I know because I am, and he goes and talks to meetings like that my dad has for their little Catholic groups, right? So he is a Midwestern guy who likes to raise his family in the Midwest. He has said that over and over and over. Iowa State was supposed to have their best year ever this year. It was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. Yeah. So if you're Matt Campbell and you've tried and you've put it together and you thought this was the year for you at Iowa State, it's not. It didn't happen. So is this now the time to test the waters at Notre Dame? I think Notre Dame is the first program that is open, that is actually a cultural fit for Matt Campbell and his family.
See, I look at it this way. I look at it the opposite. If I'm big sausage eating, Joliet, Illinois, came to Notre Dame, and now I work downtown as a trader, and all my buddies are Notre Dame, and I don't want Matt Campbell at my school. I don't want him. I mean, here's what Notre Dame fan always says. We can do better than that.
The Notre Dame fan thinks that they're living in the 90s, much like the Nebraska fan. They can all hang out together. But I see what you're saying.
I know.
I mean, then you have Luke Fickell, who already said he's not going to leave for another job. But that was before Notre Dame opened. So I think that's my thing. Is Cincinnati just going to be the feeder school for Notre Dame for their coaches coming forward? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't either, but I know my background. See, Jill, we get talking about Notre Dame, and the deep state has just ruined my background. All right, I'm going to keep I'm supposed to take a break, but this is too much fun. All right, so let's go. I'm going to throw something. All right, well, I'm going to get back to a candidate that I'm saying possibly, but before I do, I say Alabama has a shot here, real shot in the SEC championship game. You know it 10 times better than me. So I'm going to defer. Does Alabama have a shot against Georgia?
Underdog Nick Saban. It hasn't happened in 92 games. For 92 straight games, they've been favored. You can't tell me that they are going to come off in Iron Bowl where they took 4 overtimes to beat a so-so Auburn team with a hobbled quarterback who could barely walk towards the end of the game. Yeah. And you can't tell me that Nick Saban isn't going to have this team ready. Now, there are a couple of things in that Auburn game, right? Jamison Williams, one of their stud wide receivers, was out there on a special teams play and got a targeting call and was out for the rest of the game. That made a huge difference. When I look at Alabama, if they can get they're going to have to get that pass game going because Georgia is going to stop the run. Bama's running backs are banged up anyway. To me, it's going to be on Bryce Young, his shoulders, and that receiving core for Alabama, because this is the thing that we know is that Georgia's secondary hasn't been tested to the likes that it will be. I mean, Tennessee was the closest thing, and Tennessee was able to get some chunk yards against Georgia. So if Alabama is going to win it, that's the way I see it happening. But I'm with you. I think that underdog Nick Saban, who knows what's going to happen? It's a 6.5 point spread. So I'm excited.
Jill, I always said, and it never really happened when Urban Meyer was at Ohio State, take Urban Meyer and the points. Like I always said that. Like just stop. Just take him in the points. When there's ever points, just take him in the points. I'm taking Nick Saban in the points. I'm sorry. I don't care what's happening in my background. This is a serious gambling discussion. And I am taking Nick Saban. And I may make it 7, but you're right. The hobbled quarterback thing, man, that was interesting. That, in this world, they actually let him play. I thought maybe the ambulance would come on because of players.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have Bo Nix. He was already the backup quarterback. So what were they going to do? You can't go to your third string in the Iron Bowl.
Right. All right. You ready for some hot takes? Jill, I hate to say this, but I believe it. Ryan Day is a candidate at Notre Dame.
Oh man, I don't think so. I don't think. And again, it might be contrary to what we've seen over the last 48 hours.
Right.
Because I would say, oh, that's not a program that you leave. Well, Oklahoma wasn't a program that you leave. Notre Dame isn't a program that you leave. So
Jill, an Irish Midwest guy. An Irish Midwest guy left Notre Dame as the all-time winningest guy. Everything's up for grabs,
everything
is it
not?
not?
Up for grabs.
Everything.
So, I mean, based on that, yes. But in a likely scenario, I don't think that Ryan Day would leave.
No. All right. Oklahoma State ends up in the college football playoff.
I think that is likely now. We are talking about Georgia and Alabama. Ooh. And if Georgia beats Alabama and beats them in a convincing fashion, I don't think it's a discussion. I think that Oklahoma State's in. I think that, if the teams that are supposed to win this weekend, Michigan, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, if they all win, they're in. But, if Alabama could come out and somehow put on that convincing fashion for the College Football Playoff Committee, and they're sequestered. It's funny. I tried to go have a drink with one of them last night, and he's like, "I can't leave the hotel. They won't let me out." I'm like, "This isn't like a murder trial. We're not a jury. You can go out and talk to other humans before we come out with the top 4 in the college football playoff." But apparently, you can't, Dan. So when I look at that and the level that they're taking all of this, Georgia, Bama, I think that only one of those teams is going to get in. But I think that if Bama keeps it close, they will do everything in their power to make Bama the first 2-loss team. And I know people think it's crazy, but if they are able to come out and take on Georgia, and then the committee has that talking point of saying, well, they're potentially the only team that can beat Georgia again, then I think that you have that in your back pocket. But Oklahoma State, I think, is the more likely scenario if I'm taking one of those two.
I think Iowa's pretty good. I don't think they're, Iowa's going to be no joke for Michigan.
Thank you, Dan.
This isn't going to be.
Thank you.
Right?
That's right.
Yes,
Hawkeyes.
As an Iowa gal, you
my
understand
Hawkeyes
this.
are 5-1 in the last 6 games against top 5 teams. The only loss was against Penn State on a final second in 2017. And Dan, I know you saw that tweet that when the Hawkeyes come to town, you better stock up. You better stock up if you're far. Because they had the largest orders in the history of the state, and they drank them dry last time in 2015. Last time they were in the Big Ten championship game. So your city needs to get ready.
I have friends that own 2 bars, and they literally already, once they saw it was Iowa, they doubled their normal beer order. They didn't worry about anything else but the beer. Yeah. And when Iowa came in last time, they literally, I'm being literal here, they drank the town out of beer.
I know. It's
awesome.
That is what they do. Yeah, you can keep the liquor and all that. You just need to stock up on all of the so-so beer brands.
Yeah. We got enough Chardonnay to last us a lifetime with Iowa fans coming in. We don't care about that.
No popping bottles for the Hawkeyes.
No, the Hawkeyes coming in drinking beer. Spencer Rattler ends up in the SEC.
I could see that. I could see, South Carolina, the way that their season went when they had like 4 different quarterbacks this year and everybody was banged up. He has a relationship with Shane Beamer already. Maybe South Carolina, maybe Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, Matt Corral turning pro. I could see that, but he's an Arizona kid. So the Pac-12, I don't think is completely out of the discussion for him, just kind of getting back home. But Spencer does like to be in the spotlight in the prime time. So the SEC, to me, could be a likely draw for him.
Yeah, I mean, people say, well, he's going to go to USC. Well, why play for the coach that benched him?
I don't see that at all. I think that would be the last school of all. I think I would see him at UCLA with Chip Kelly before I would see him at USC with Lincoln Riley.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I've had people, well, you know why he left. He's going to USC. Hey, look, first off, the quarterback who's a freshman at USC is pretty good. Then Slovis is back next year. And this guy's going to go play for the coach that benched him? I do not think so.
You're not going to have 2 quarterbacks in front of you when the freshman beat you out this season at the school that you were at. Yeah. You're not walking into that scenario.
No. All right. I like this one because I think I don't know if it's clear or not, but last weekend, Bryce Young now the clear favorite to win the Heisman.
I would say with C.J. Stroud not playing in a game this weekend, Bryce Young has to be the front runner at this point in time, just for a lack of anybody else, right? Because if you look at it and you want to get a defender in there, and Aiden Hutchinson, Jordan Davis, there's not going to be enough support around one defender this season to get anywhere in the discussion of that top number 1 spot for the Heisman Trophy. So Bryce Young, everybody is going to be watching Georgia, Alabama. As long as he doesn't completely implode, I think that you have to go just based on recency bias of he's in the championship game and CJ Stroud is not. I think that's the edge that Bryce Young will have for this weekend. And honestly, if they're going to have any shot against Georgia, it's going to be on Bryce Young's shoulders. So it's all going to set up well for him.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud was good in the Michigan. I mean, his numbers were good, but Bryce Young went 97 yards after being a mess. I mean, I don't know. Is it clear those two? I mean, that's it, right?
I think that's
pretty much. I think.
But when you look at that entire game for the Iron Bowl, it's not anything to write home about. But that final 135, he looked pretty good then.
Pretty good.
That's what people are going to remember. So.
Jill, if you got to look good at the end. That was always me when I went out to the bars.
2 a.m.
At 3 in the morning, all of a sudden, I started doing my face, trying to look pretty. All right, this is my best one. All right. Here's my prediction. Brian Kelly wins a national championship at LSU before Notre Dame wins a national championship.
Definitely before Purdue. That's without a doubt.
I know, right?
Before Notre Dame does? I think yes. I think that prediction is correct because I think that's why Brian Kelly left, right? You leave to go win your national championship at LSU. Brian Kelly saw that they fired Ed O 2 years after he won it, right? The job security is not why you're going to LSU. You were there at Notre Dame for 11 seasons. They weren't kicking you out. You had that. It was easy, comfortable, like you knew the drill. He's going down there to win a natty. That's it. And if you have a coach that is as talented as Brian Kelly and you combine it with the resources of LSU, I think that, when you look at Notre Dame, they're in the college football playoff discussion year after year, but without having that conference, without having that backing, they're always like, well, I mean, they're just in the discussion. You're not going to be, they're a top 4 team no matter what. You go through, and Brian Kelly, it's going to be tough, that SEC West, man. That's not going to be easy, but if anybody can do it, a coach of his caliber is somebody that can.
Hey, let me go back on something. Do you think there is any way that Nick Saban would leave Alabama to go to Notre Dame? Anyway.
No.
New challenge.
I don't think that Nick. Again, this coaching carousel has been the dumbest that we've ever seen. So,
I know.
To your Ryan Day point earlier, I think that we're just going to throw out every big name that was never ever going to move. But I mean, I don't know. At 70 years old, do we think that Saban is leaving? No, I don't think so. No. I think that he likes it down there. It's warmer. Let's be real. The Olds like the South. It's fine. You got to keep that body temperature up. His life is
one of the things. His life is unbelievable, and his statues there. One of the things that is a misnomer about the Meyers is, Shelley Meyer hated Notre Dame. I know Shelley pretty well. Shelley liked Notre Dame. She didn't like the cold necessarily, but other than ski bunnies or who likes the freaking cold, right? I mean,
nobody.
I don't. Nobody, right? So but it is a misnomer that Urban wouldn't go back there. Marcus Freeman, the defensive coordinator, been there 1 year. Seems like a serious guy. He's done a good job. I haven't seen an announcement today. You think he'll coach the bowl?
This is the most fascinating thing, right? If you just look at Notre Dame, potentially a playoff team, Cincinnati, if they somehow steal Luke Fickell away to Notre Dame, like we could have college football playoff teams or New Year's Six bowl games without their coaches, and again, like they'll probably pull, when Scott Frost left UCF to go to Nebraska, he still stayed and coached against Auburn in that bowl game, but you're splitting time and it's not the same. You don't have that full commitment to just coaching that team. So it's a little different for that scenario, but it's an interesting 48 hours, and it's only going to get better with this coaching carousel. I've never seen anything like it.
I know. It's awesome. I mean, look, this is a great time of year because it gives, 2 hours goes fast. Last thing, where's Outkick? We're going to be at the SEC tailgate, right? The SEC championship game.
We are going to be in Atlanta getting you ready for Georgia and Alabama, and it is going to be electric. I am so excited. It's the game that we have waited for all year long. Everybody has talked about it. It actually played out that we get Georgia and Bama. And, hey, we heard all year long and for years, Nick Saban, none of his former assistants have ever beaten him. Jimbo took him down this year at Texas A&M. So can Kirby Smart do it again? It's going to be tough, but I'm telling you, underdog Nick Saban. It's going to be something to watch.
You know how popular you are before I let you go?
Yeah, sure.
Can I tell you something? Our show has never gone over 1,000 viewers, and now that you're on, we're at 1,003. That's the magnitude of Jill Savage, people.
Coffee cheers.
That's right.
I like it, Dan. I think that means we should do it again.
We got to. This is too good. Next time, I think we should argue more.
Sure, and we'll be talking about how my Hawkeyes are the Big Ten champions that have completely wasted Indiana out of all the beer that's there. There's going to be nothing left. The Hawkeyes are going to be partying forever. They're going to take Jim Harbaugh down. It'll be great.
Well, last thing. What's the beer of choice, basically, for Hawkeye fans? Miller Lite, Bud Light?
There's a lot of Coors Light. Northern Iowa is a Coors Light just region, if you will. But
the banquet beer.
Busch Light and Natty Light, I would have to say. Like, Iowans do not need fancy beer. They just need beer. No. So you could sell all the Busch Light, all the Natty Light, all the Bud Light, all the Coors Light, all the Miller Light. We're just going to hit them all. Any of the above, they will drink it.
I'm not, hey, this isn't sexist. This isn't a woman or a man. This is both. Iowans are a cheap date based on what you're saying. Man or woman.
That's it.
Cheap dates.
Story of my life. Story of my life, Dan.
You're the best. You're the best. That's Jill Savage. Thank you. Have a great weekend down in the SEC championship game. We'll talk to you soon. All right. How good is she? God dang, she's good. She's really good. I'm telling you, the Outkick tailgate is catching up. It's catching steam. I mean, I understand, well, you know, it's not ESPN's game. It's not trying to be. It's trying to give you information and give you fun stuff. Don't at me, people. It's good. I'm going to get my background fixed. I've got some thoughts on a variety of things when we come back. If you'd like to join the conversation, go to our at Outkick and send me a tweet, and I'll read it here. Call me an idiot. Do whatever you'd like. I don't care. It don't matter to me. But at the end of the day, let me know. We'll be back.